Hi, this is Pastor Bob, and welcome to Pastor Bob Daily. Got an interesting message from a person on email that said, I'm really afraid that I'm not going to be able to marry a virgin. And he said that he's getting a little older, and all the people around him basically are not virgins, and he's wondering, I think he's 25, 26, something like that, that he's wondering, you know, what's going to happen because it seems like all the girls now are not virgins and he desperately wants to marry someone who's a virgin. And then at the end of his mail, after he's, saying, is this bad to feel this way? What will God do for him? He said, and by the way, I'm not a virgin. And, I understand exactly where he's coming from. I'm sure that's a great desire that most people have. And the whole idea of virginity is there for a reason because it's a very special event that people share together in marriage. Because sexuality is about love, it's not about lust. And when you bring sexuality into marriage, it works there. Well, Christian, in his podcast that's on this same network, did a great job in handling this particular question. Would I marry a virgin? And I think he answered it very well. So I'm going to let his answer stand because I believe it's a great answer. But I do want to comment on one aspect of this. Some of the popular advice that we hear these days is that God not only forgives, but he restores as if nothing happened. And it is true that when God forgives us, he forgets. There's no record of it any longer, and the sin is buried as far as the east is from the west. But folks, there are still ramifications of the sin. We've talked about this a few times, but there's a very popular teaching these days that, if you've lost your virginity, that God will restore it, just as if you're a virgin again and you won't have any problems because he'll simply just restore it. And can I tell you that's really dangerous? And it's not true. Now, I would love to tell you that when God forgives, he restores to the place that we forget all about it too, and our lives, well, we live happily ever after and right off into the sunset. It's not true, and you know that. We're still reaping the the pain sometimes of our mistakes in the past. Even though God has forgiven us, sin has its ramifications. And so that's where we stand. And folks, there's a really good reason why God asks us to follow certain guidelines. There's a reason that he asks you to wait until you get married to have sex. The reason is because it's really great to be able to share that experience with the one that you love and the one you're intending to spend the rest of your life with. And you will most likely, probably, have to go through some things if you're not a virgin with your wife when you meet her, or your husband when you meet him. Simply because there is some baggage from it that you'll carry into the relationship. You say, well, Pastor Bob, how do you know that you're single? Well, I know that for two reasons. First of all, I am a virgin. I've waited. I believe what I'm saying, and I believe it to the point where I have adhered to it. Secondly, I counsel hundreds of people, and have through the years, probably more than hundreds, on this subject. I see what happens, and I see the cause and effect. And folks, there's a really good reason why God tells us not to do certain things. Not that he won't forgive us at some point, but there are consequences to sin. The consequences are what they do to us, how they make us feel, and the baggage that you will carry into marriage. Now, you can work it through, and, God is faithful there too. But isn't it great not to have to work that through? Wouldn't it be great just to get married to somebody, to be virgins, both of you, when you get married, and to live that kind of life, and to allow your sexuality to honestly be part of being in love as God intended it to be? I think that'd be great, and I hope that those of you that still have to make that choice will wait until you get married. Can God honestly restore your virginity? No. Once you've lost it, you have lost it. Honestly, let's use our minds. You've lost it, and it's gone. Can He restore the purity? Yes, He can. It's a restoration in progress, and it doesn't happen overnight. Some people say, well, it just happened overnight. That's great if that happened for you. It doesn't usually. And yes, there are ramifications for sin. So I hope you'll think about that. Not only in this area, but in any area where God asks us not to sin, because sin has ramifications. That's why God said it in the first place. His desire, folks, honestly, is for you to be free. God bless you. Have a great day.